Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled Parents Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. Classmate is mad, I'm forcing her to eat ethnic food. Go eat a loaf of bread. After that, am I the jerk for not letting a customer use me to scare her kid into behaving? And after that, Entitled Dude thinks he should use my laptop because I was at the library. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen has to shovel snow. Please, anything but that. So please smash that like button. And if you're new, subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. Classmate is mad, I'm forcing her to eat ethnic food. Go eat a loaf of bread. This happened about a year ago now when I was in high school. My calculus class was very chill. About 20 kids who were all friendly with each other, a laid-back but enthusiastic teacher, and a light enough workload that we could afford to goof off in class but still learn and do well. At some point in the year, I got really into cooking. It's my stress reliever. My family couldn't possibly eat the amount of food I made, so I started bringing it into school and hosting Friday parties in my calc class, with my teacher's approval of course. Now, I'm Vietnamese and live in a predominantly white town. This is only important because it's meant that most kids from my town only ate American or European foods and weren't used to eating other ethnic foods. Last year, around Lunar New Year, I wanted to bring in some Vietnamese foods to celebrate. It's a very important time of year for my family. I ended up making a bunch of bánh de lon, a steamed layer cake, and a traditional Vietnamese dessert. Some of my friends from class found out I was going to bring in a traditional dish and brought in their own traditional dishes from their own cultures, whether they celebrated Lunar New Year or not. We had different Indian, Korean, Filipino, and Spanish desserts. It was great, and I was really excited that my friends wanted to celebrate with me. Apparently, there was an issue for one girl in my class. I would say bánh de lon is an acquired taste, so when not a lot of people ate it, I wasn't offended. I knew not everybody would like it. There was a lot of other food anyways. During our lunch period, one of my friends, who wasn't in our class but knew I brought food in, overheard a girl from my class complaining about the food while on the lunch line. Apparently, she was saying really negative things about how I forced everyone to eat weird Chinese foods. Later that day, I texted her just saying I heard she didn't like the food and wanted to know why. I don't really care when people don't like the food. I make it for myself and bring it in when I have extra anyways. But her calling it weird Chinese food when she knows I'm Vietnamese didn't sit right with me. Well, she texted back that it was rude of me to bring in weird ethnic foods that nobody could have liked except for me, and said I should have known better since most of the class was white. I told her that I bring in food to share because I feel like it and that I don't have an obligation to cater to her tastes. If she has an issue with it, she literally does not have to eat it, and other people can bring in food too. So if she wanted to, she could bring in something more to her tastes. After that, she just told me that I shouldn't bring in ethnic and foreign foods and stick with American foods because we're in America. Excuse me? Like, how much you want to bet if I brought in jambalaya, which originated in Louisiana, she would call it a weird foreign food? Fine. She only wants to eat American foods, then she can eat American foods. The next week, I brought in a bunch of Oli Bol, a Dutch donut, and started passing them out at the beginning of class. When I got to her desk, I pulled out a loaf of Wonder Bread and plopped it on her desk, saying, "Sorry, but these are Dutch, too ethnic. Here you go, all American cuisine." Later, she texted asking what the heck my problem was, so I told her that almost every single food I brought in this year was ethnic, and that it ticked me off that she had only had an issue when it wasn't European. She's entitled to not liking Asian foods, but if you're going to complain about it being ethnic, then you better have that same attitude when the ethnic food is white. And especially, don't call another person's culture weird. She didn't complain about the food again. Also, before anyone comments, white bread isn't the only American cuisine out there. Here's a short list of what I've enjoyed making: tater tots, jambalaya, fried chicken, many types of pies, s'mores, and Philly cheesesteaks. America is a very diverse place, and that's reflected in its food. Happy eating. Speaking of food, what's your favorite food of all time? Please let us know. I'd do anything for some pancakes right now, with coconut cooked into them. Yes. Am I the jerk for not letting a customer use me to scare her kid into behaving? I work at a home goods store as a cashier, and this afternoon we had a woman come in with her young son. He was probably overtired, and because of this, he was screeching and throwing fits and touching everything, making messes. He was screeching so loud I could hear him plain as day when they were all the way in the back of our store. Having worked with kids, this is annoying, but it doesn't ruin my day. I just ignore it and get on with my job. I stay behind the counter most of the time, and the mom and son come back up to look at the flash displays we have near the register. The boy was in rare form and kept grabbing stuff off shelves and trying to throw them in the cart. The mom was trying her hardest to corral him, but he was bored and probably sleepy, and his behavior kept getting worse. The mom looks at me. I lower my mask and give her a smile so she knows everything is fine, just to make her feel better. This woman turns to her son and says, "If you don't behave, that lady behind the counter is gonna get you and spank you." The boy looked at me and went silent and looked scared. I do look kind of unusual if you're not expecting someone like me. I'm a rather large woman, heavy in weight, and our uniforms are all black, so I also wear a black face mask. I also have hair dyed algae green and wear violent pink contact lenses. Not scary, but definitely unusual for our area. I could tell the boy was now fearful of me, and the mom just kept saying, "She's gonna get you and make you behave. She's gonna take you to the back room and make you work if you keep grabbing things." That made me feel bad. I feel like she was using my non-typical appearance and my position as a cashier to scare her son because she thought I was an acceptable target. I don't want kids to be scared of me. I want to be a safe haven for kids in case they get lost or hurt. Someone they feel will help them if they need it. So I told the boy, "Don't worry, buddy. I'm not gonna get you. I'm really nice, I promise." I smiled at him. It seemed to make him feel better, but he went right back to messing around. The mom gave me this look like she hated me and said, "I just needed to calm him down. Thanks for nothing." She grabbed him and left, leaving a cart full of stuff I had to put away. My manager asked me why the lady stormed off, was watching the cams, so I told him. He said it was bad customer service and I should have gone along with her. Was I the jerk for not letting a customer make a villain out of me for a kid? Edit. The lady also referred to me as the scary lady at one point, and by saying that I would make her son work if he misbehaved made me feel badly about my job, like it's a punishment to work this job. I love my job. Other than the manager mentioned above, this is a generally good workplace. My coworkers and I are close, and the customers are usually great. Well, what do you think? Should OP have gone along with what the customer was saying or not? Please let us know. The customer could always learn to be a better parent. Like that's ever gonna happen. Entitled Dude thinks he should use my laptop because I was at the library. Disclaimer. This happened in like 2019, and at that time I had a laptop for school. As I have an exam in a week, I went to the library to find the textbooks and other resources to study for it. It was a closed book exam, but we were allowed a 2-page singular cheat sheet, so I was planning to type everything on a Google Doc that my friends and I all did, so we can all print it out before the exam. So I was trying to finish the lessons that I was assigned to do the cheat sheet for. Luckily, I found a table at a secluded area of the library. I sit there for a good 45 minutes to an hour when I hear someone clearing their throat rather loudly. Enter Entitled Dude.
Excuse me, you've been using that computer for more than an hour now. You need to let other people like me use it.
Me. The library computers are on the other side of the level over there. Points in the other direction. Entitled Dude.
No, I don't want to walk all the way over there. Just give me this one.
Me. This is my own laptop. Get your own. This ticks him off apparently. He tries to take my laptop, which I moved out of the way, which caused me to push my stationery to fall on the floor, causing a loud thud. This causes the librarian to walk over. Librarian. What's going on here? Entitled Dude.
This girl is hogging the computer and not letting me check my emails.
Me. This is my own laptop, and not the library's. Librarian looks at the sticker-covered laptop. Yes, sir, that is her laptop and not the library's. I'm gonna have to ask you to leave as you are disturbing other readers. Entitled Dude huffs and walks out of the library. I left the library at about 5 p.m. as the library had to close early for their reasons. I saw this dude waiting outside the darn library. He stood outside the library for an hour. I saw him and decided to walk out the other way around the building and walked home. Halfway home, I had to make a turn at like a road corner with a mirror for like cars to see if anyone is turning. I look at it and found the guy following me. I sprinted across the bridge and all the way home. To this day, I don't know what the heck was this dude's problem. Like, he followed me out of the library because I wouldn't let him use my laptop. What the heck? Am I the jerk for throwing my sister out of my house at her own birthday party? I, 24, female, have 2 older sisters, X, 29, and Y, 31. I've been seeing C, 32, male, for a year and a half now. Yes, there's an age difference. No, it has not been an issue. We don't live together, and initially he resisted a relationship with me due to the age difference, and I was wary myself. But we had a lot of conversations and gave it a shot. He's honestly the best person I've ever dated. Communication is great. He respects me entirely, never raises his voice, takes me on dates whenever we can, cooks, helps around the house. Total dreamboat, basically. He's never made me feel inferior for being younger, never tried to parent or control me, encourages my social life, and is as supportive as he can be. Anyway, when we first got together, I was 23 and he was 30. Turned 31 a month or so after we made things official. I mentioned offhandedly to X that I was seeing someone, and she asked the standard questions. I was honest about his age, and she said, "Gross," lectured me about creeps, and I dropped the topic. My sisters and I are all best friends, and to keep the peace, I mentioned him at a minimum, occasionally mentioning a date we went on or a gift he bought me. Cut to last month. We're celebrating my sister's 29th birthday. Lockdown is a non-issue where we live at this point. I invite my boyfriend, and this is the first time he's meeting my sisters. So it's me, my boyfriend, my sisters, and their husbands. Things are going well. Boyfriend is charming the pants off of my brother-in-laws. We have some drinks, and then it starts. X starts off with casual questions that progressively get more pointed. Do you usually date girls in their 20s? Plot twist, no, he doesn't. Was he attracted to me because I was younger? So on and so forth. I finally just crack after trying to play off her questions with jokes to ease the tension and point out that yes, we have an 8-year gap. But her and her husband have a 7-year gap. X was 23 and her husband was 30 when they met, and she's a hypocrite for being a jerk to someone who's been nothing but doting and loving towards me. We argue. She says she's trying to protect me by trying to humiliate my boyfriend, and it culminates in me telling her to get out. Her husband was a designated driver and took her home. Y says she doesn't have an issue with what I did, but kicking her out of her own birthday party in my house was maybe a bit much, and she left with her husband. C is supporting me, but says maybe I should apologize just so I can keep the peace. He doesn't want to come between my sisters and I. X went off on me when I called her a week later, told me I was a jerk. She was doing her job as a sister. Y is just not even speaking about it because she doesn't want to take sides. I feel that I should apologize to keep the peace, but was I really the jerk for kicking her out of a party for her when she was that disrespectful? ETA info. I didn't speak to her privately, thanks Studio Apartments, but I did intervene trying to deflect her attitude with jokes and steer conversation elsewhere. She kept talking over me and ignoring me, and her husband subtly trying to tell her to calm down. My sisters have met my boyfriends before, and in my personal opinion, we're asking him inappropriate questions, especially in front of family. And the implication I got from these questions was that she saw him as some weirdo who was trying to take advantage of me, which is not the scenario at all for us. Well, what do you think? Was OP the jerk or was her sister? Please let us know. It's not easy having a Karen for a sister. Entitled Mom and Entitled Grandma make me go to 2 different schools in different time zones and expect me to succeed in both schools. Hello there. I know the title seems ridiculous, but unfortunately it's true. So basically in 2019, my parents decided that they had 2 options. To move to their country of origin, my parents are immigrants. They had me in the country they were from and moved to the States when I was 2, or stay in the States until I and my sister finished high school. Because of a family emergency at the time, my parents found it best to move from the States. We decided to move there in June of 2020, but because of lockdown and travel bans, we weren't able to. So they decided to enroll me in a school that is in the place we were moving to, and because of lockdown, that school had online classes. I wasn't happy with this for 2 reasons. 1. In September, I would be starting my first year of high school, and I didn't want to miss the experience. 2. I would have to stay up all night to attend classes and meetings for the other school. But I didn't want to complain and make my dad feel bad, so I just kept my mouth shut and smiled. Fast forward a couple of months, we still haven't left the States, and now high school is starting in the US. My mom, who is a complete jerk, and nothing or no one can tell me otherwise, wanted me to also go to school in the mornings. Keep in mind, I haven't left the other school. So now I have to go to 2 schools. One in the morning, this is the US school, 8 a.m. to 2:10 p.m., and one at night, 7:30 p.m. to 11 p.m. Now you might be thinking that this wasn't so bad, but high school in the US is really stressful, and my mother signed me up for 2 clubs, and I also have football, so most of the week I wouldn't come home until 6 or 7. This went on for a while, but I finally decided to tell my parents that I couldn't do this anymore and told them that I wanted to stay in the US, where I've been for most of my life. My dad understood, and he told me that since I hadn't said anything to him, that he thought I was okay going to both schools. Mother Dearest, on the other hand, made a big deal out of me not being able to take academic pressure. She and my grandma have been calling me dumb and all sorts of other things. Whenever I come into the dining room to eat, they talk about how I don't study for either school at all and I'm a waste of space and money, etc. You get the point. Am I the jerk for quitting school and making my mom upset? Edit. Some of you have been asking how I didn't pass out on the football field. Before each game, my friends would buy me an energy drink. It helped for like 45 minutes to an hour. I play safety, and my school has a rule that every player on the team has to be in the game for at least 10 minutes. Since I started as safety, I would stay in for about 20 minutes. Edit 2. Some of you suggested that I pursue legal action against my mother. If I do that, my mother will definitely divorce my dad. And due to lockdown, neither of them are able to raise 2 kids, me and my sister, alone. And I don't want to cause any more problems. Thank you though for all of your kind words and support. I have some more stories of my mother. If you guys want, I can share those too. Edit 3. I am a male, 15 years old. Edit 4. A lot, and I mean a lot, of people have messaged me asking what my future ambition is. I don't know why, but to avoid potentially more people asking this question, I want to become a doctor. But I'm not so sure anymore since my first semester of high school was really bad because I was trying to manage both schools. But yeah, that's it. I got a guest fired from his job. At the time, most of the guests at our hotel were businessmen. The guys from this particular company had been staying at our hotel for a while, and I got along very well with a few of them, including the person I later found out was the owner. One evening, probably around 5 or 6, after my manager had left, 3 guys from that company came down and wanted to buy beers and snacks. The first 2 guys, I sold them their beers and snacks, no problem. The third guy, I can't remember exactly what he said, but it made me mad, and I could tell he was already drunk, so I refused to sell him alcohol. In the state I live in, it's illegal to sell alcohol to an intoxicated person, so I used that as my excuse. Well, he did not like this, and he called me names, and just started yelling at me. I told him to go back to his room, but he wasn't leaving. Luckily, his 2 coworkers were still in the lobby and took him out of the lobby. He went back to his room and it was over, or so I thought. I got a call from his manager, who I knew, asking what had happened. I guess one of his coworkers called and told him what had happened. I explained what happened and told him how he's not allowed in the lobby if he's going to be drunk and disrespectful. His manager apologized and said he will get him on a new assignment and he will be leaving later this week. He told me if anything else happens to call him. Alright, sounded good to me. About 30 minutes later, dude comes back down yelling at me about how his manager called him and is making him leave. He then pulls out his phone and starts to record me on Facebook Live, saying how I won't sell him alcohol and calling me names. He then goes into the shop and on video steals beer from the cooler. He tells me he's going to get me fired and just started screaming at me again. Unfortunately, his coworkers weren't in the lobby, so all I could do was tell him to go back to his room. He eventually went back to his room. I look up the guest reservation and call the number on file for the manager I had talked to earlier to tell him what happened. I called and got the voicemail for who I thought was his other manager. I knew him as well. I left the voicemail explaining what happened and he called me back almost immediately. He apologized, and since it was late, he couldn't get him a flight that night to leave, but he had a flight first thing in the morning. I then found out that this man was actually the owner of the company. A few days go by and I get a phone call, and it was from the HR team. I explained the situation and they apologized. I then got a call from their risk management team and they apologized. Next time I was at work, all of the managers, owner, and employees came and apologized. The guy got fired, and every person in the company had to have a harassment class. Am I the jerk for declining lifts from my girlfriend after she said she didn't want to drive me to work anymore? Me, 25 female, and my girlfriend, 25 female, have a really good relationship up until now, and we never argued or disagreed. When we moved into a flat that me and my sister share, the arrangement was that she would drive me to work 8 miles away, on her way to work 30 miles away, and we would split the fuel, insurance, and any car repairs 50-50. I appreciated this arrangement, and I thought it benefited us. She told me she has started to feel different and now wants to stop driving me to work because she feels overwhelmed and like it's an obligation, which she has every right to change her mind about driving me. It's her car. although it hurt my feelings as I didn't realize how I depended on those lifts. I decided to buy a monthly bus pass, and this is where she is upset. The monthly bus pass costs a lot, and for me to get my money's worth, I have to use it more often, and that's what I've decided to do. Meaning, I'm taking the bus not only to work, but to the gym, supermarkets, and to town. We don't have restrictions where I live, and my girlfriend doesn't like this because it means she can't spend as much time with me, and she's now stated that she enjoys driving me to do my errands, but just not to work. But I've started declining all offers of a lift if she's not going to that place as well, because I want to use my bus pass and I don't want to use up her fuel, which she will now have to pay 100% for. But she's thinking I'm being vindictive and punishing her for refusing to take me to work by declining all lifts. I'm conflicted because I don't want her upset, but I also don't see what I've done wrong. But she's been crying over it. So please, am I the jerk? Edit 1. We talked about it last night, and she now wants to drive me to work sometimes, but now all times, so she feels like she has choice in it, and then I would have to start paying for some of the fuel and some of the maintenance. So use the bus half the time and lifts from her sometimes for a smaller percentage than me, and I don't think this will be beneficial to me at all money-wise, and would increase my costs as I've already paid for the bus pass. This makes me think that this is about the money and not necessarily about spending time with me. Edit 2. For people asking, my job is on the way to hers, except for like 2 turns. She moved in with me and my sister, and she's not paying any rent. I don't mind this at all, and unless we move, I wouldn't ask her to pay. Me and my sister are splitting 50-50 and all the expenses, and they get on very well. I'm still a bit conflicted. Well, what do you think? Is OP the jerk, or is her girlfriend? Please let us know. Just give her a ride. Don't want me splitting up my breaks to help coworkers? It won't happen again. Back when I was in my mid-30s, I needed some extra cash for a lawyer bill, so I picked up an extra job at a national chain hobby store that I won't name, but it has a rhyming 2-word name that lets you know it's a hobby shop. I chose here because they close on Sundays, and they happened to pay a couple of bucks above minimum wage at the time. It was perfect. I would work a few evenings during the week, then a full shift on Saturday doing just basic stocking and cleaning stuff. I didn't really care what I was doing there, and I ended up becoming everyone's preferred helper since I never said no unless I was in the middle of something or had a higher priority. I would even interrupt my breaks to help someone out if they needed it. When that happened, I'd note the time and be sure to make up my missed break when I was finished helping that person out. I even did this for the manager, let's call him John, from time to time with no complaints. It didn't bother me at all. I had my professional career and the temp work wasn't too difficult or degrading. I ended up working there longer than I needed to pay the lawyer bill, and I just stuck the extra cash towards paying off some other debt we had at the time. Everything was fine until one time John saw me in the break room again, taking what he assumed was another break. Naturally, he asked about it, and I explained that my coworker X needed my help with something, so I helped her and now was taking the rest of my 15-minute break. John didn't like that and told me that I could not split my breaks anymore. I had to take the 15 minutes all at once. Okay, if you say so. I didn't care, but it really impacted my coworkers, although they understood why I would not interrupt my break anymore. The real kicker came on Tuesday night when I was the only stalker working. The only other employees were 2 girls as cashiers and John. I had just sat down for my break a minute earlier when John poked his head into the break room to tell me I needed to go pull a chest off a high shelf for a customer. They had already paid for it and were waiting for someone to load it into their car. I turned my head so I could look at the break room clock and told him I'd get right on it in another 13 minutes. He said they needed me now, and I reminded him that I was not allowed to split my breaks and also noted that he was interrupting my break. To make my point even clearer, I stood up and walked around to the other side of the table so I could sit down with my back to John. After the 13 minutes passed, I went up front to find the customers so I could get their chest and stick it in their car. I didn't see John, but a cashier told me that they didn't wait and ended up getting a refund on the purchase. Not sure why John didn't get the chest down himself. It wasn't that difficult. Anyway, John wasn't too happy with me after that, and I didn't stay much longer either. I had earned my cash and didn't need that job by then. Finally, a story worth writing about. Okay, so I, like many others, have been working through lockdown in a major city as an essential worker, doing my best to be safe while working for a company that refuses to enforce safety. So once in a while, I treat myself to a trip to the big blue evil store for some extra treats on top of a few essential items. Only during quieter hours and only if it has been 1 to 2 months since my last excursion. I'm off work, but dressed in full-on leave-me-alone clothing, winter clothes, looking like a little haggard after a 10-hour shift, with headphones in and a heavy-duty mask. And I was trying to not have an anxiety flare because the lines were a bit long for my liking. I'm leaning on my cart full of stuff, now third in line at the registers, watching a YouTube video, when I make out a person in my 6-foot bubble in my peripherals. Now I'm used to men being gross, so I ignore for a second, but then they get closer. Pulls out my headphones. Hey, please back up, social distance. Also, pull your mask up if you have no choice to get in someone's space. Karen, I was trying to ask if you work here. Now, I literally had a moment. Sometimes the stories here feel embellished, and yet here I am, in line with a cart full of stuff, and this woman is getting in my bubble asking if I work here. Me, am I wearing a blue vest? No, but am I standing in line with a cart full of stuff right at the registers? Yes, but I'm standing here with my headphones in, watching a video. Why the heck do you think I work here? I just back up and put your mask on properly before you find an actual employee. They wear blue vests and name tags, not winter coats, headphones, and carts full of stuff. The person definitely moved off after that. I was clearly in a grumpy, aggressive mood with no tolerance for stupid, even if it was an honest mistake. I blame the horrific handling of lockdown. No, I absolutely won't come with you to your car. So I'm 15 and female. This morning, my older brother called me because the key to his car wasn't working, electric short, and he wanted me to wake my dad up so we could bring him the spare. That I did. So my dad drives us to this 7-Eleven parking lot that my brother is stuck in and hands me his card, telling me to grab him a Coke Zero and get myself something to drink and eat. It's 7:30 a.m. I'm wearing fuzzy slipper boots, leggings, a sick Persona 5 mask that I sewed myself, AirPods, and a Marvel hoodie. I have cotton candy pink hair, and I wear glasses. I'm also 5'1" and look way younger than I actually am unless I'm wearing makeup. In comes Bill. Bill is somewhat over 6 feet tall and large. I don't know if it was fat or muscle, but he was big. I don't have social anxiety. My dad is a musician, so I'm used to being approached by people that I don't know and can generally hold friendly conversation, help people who need help, stuff like that. This guy is not wearing a mask. He looks like if Guy Fieri, the dude from Duck Dynasty, and Joe Exotic had a 400-pound love child. He's wearing a sleeveless muscle shirt with the words, "Keep America Great" on it, and a graphic of the president holding a guitar. I'm standing in front of the fridge door that had energy drinks in it when Bill over here taps on my shoulder. I turned around. In this moment, I felt like Derek Shepherd when the semi-truck was coming. Pure fear. The conversation went as follows. Me. Hey, sorry, am I in your way? Bill. You're awfully young to be working here. Can I see your manager? I don't think pants like that should be allowed on the job. Me, now very confused. I'm sorry, I don't work here. Do you need help? I can get an employee if you need. I picked up 2 orange monsters. My AP test is on the 11th, and I need to get my sleep schedule back on track, so I'm pulling an all-nighter, and moved 6 feet away from the guy. I already had my dad's soda tucked under my arm. Bill. Are you one of them girls who do free car washes? Can you clean out my passenger seat and come home with me? Nobody'll notice. Just say you're on your break. That escalated quickly. For context, I'm black/white/Hispanic mixed, but didn't end up with curly hair or blue eyes. I have brown eyes and very thick and wavy dark brown hair. Me. No, I'm sorry. Let me find you an employee. Bill. No, it'll be just fine. Bill then reaches for my free hand, which I very sharply pull away. I started walking to the front of the store, and he follows a few feet behind. I put my things on the counter and start to check out. Bill is standing like a foot behind me. Employee. Good morning. Did you find everything okay? Me. Good morning. Yes, I did. Thank you for asking. Bill, now yelling. Excuse me. I can see that you're friends and all, but your employee has been absolutely disgusting to me, and I want my gas pumped for free. Employee. Sir, I'm sorry. She's not an employee. She's a customer. No, she's not. She offered to help me in the aisle back there. Sir, that was probably just her practicing common courtesy. Me. Is your chip reader working or should I swipe? Bill. I want your manager now. Employee. Sir, I'm the only person here right now. The manager will be here at 10 a.m. I'm standing there holding the card and waiting for this dude to back off and grab a little tube of donuts from the counter for my troubles, then place it down since I hadn't paid yet. Bill then huffs and storms out, gets into a 4x4 with wheels as tall as me, and very aggressively drives away as Hotel California blares from the speakers. I could hear it from inside the store. Employee. The chip reader works. Go ahead. The total is $11.24. I left and found my dad, handed him the bag, and told him my tale. We leave. On the way home, we passed Bill's truck. I don't think he saw us. I hope he didn't. We were in a Prius. 4x4 versus Prius never goes well for the Prius. Please come watch this video next. You will love it. And support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a special shout out in our next video. And to have us make any kind of video you'd like us to, just come visit us on Fiverr. Link pinned in the comments below.